Album is called Lordy, Miss Chloe, and that was Rock and Roll Dance, Ace Records, and that's a new collection of R&B and rock and roll stuff. It is, isn't it?
It is.
Absolutely. I mean, it's real sort of, whatever they call it, weather.
Parky. That's what they call it.
That's not what I was thinking of.
Or Aspel weather. That's what I mean. Parky. Parkinson, you see what I mean?
Tenuous links, ink, Walters.
Yes, but that's the sort of weather it's been. You know, I did this thing last week and saying that I was on my holidays and I thought, well, I'll come in Tuesday, say what I've done. Well, once that cold snap came, obviously you don't do a lot, do you, really?
No.
Let's face it. But of course it was no surprise to me.
By the way, welcome back.
No, oh, thanks very much. But it was still no surprise to me.
What?
Mainly because of my cat. This cold weather.
Oh.
This cold weather, it's no surprise. It surprised everybody else. Not me. Like the weatherman was coming on saying, well, hello, what a surprise, all this snow. Not to me. Because the famous Italian cat that is now dead and gone and people have sent their tributes and so on. Thank you, Janice. But, I mean, that was a sort of character, but I didn't really know it that well. But my own big fat cat that lives in the house. See, it has two totally separate roles. It's a sort of watch cat. You know, like people have a watchdog, that's what it sees itself doing, going out, looks under the plants in the garden and walks round and round, just checks everything while we're out, by and large. But the other role is as a weather cat. You know, like you get those like the little old man comes out, ding, 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 and it's going to be sunny, and then the little lady comes out and it's raining, you know, like weather things, you know what I mean? Well, he's a weather cat, you see. When there's a change in the weather is coming, I should have rung television centre, the weather centre, and told him, because what happens, you see, you find if snow's expected and it's going to be a real chill, like 2 o'clock in the morning, suddenly you can hear him into the bedroom, and he leaps up onto the pillow, whoop, straight down the bed, because it can feel it coming, whoop, straight down my... Whoa.
Inside the bed?
Yeah, straight down the bed, and he gets right between my ankles, because that's sort of... Whoa, oh. And he just sits there peeping out the duvet, like, all night long, you know, because I don't really mind him, you know, some people don't like that sort of thing. I don't mind him, he's all right, he's, I mean, sweet as a nut, that cat, you know, I mean, give him a bit of a scrub, he's all right. But it keeps my feet warm. Well, you see, picture, if you will, Janice, what happened the night before the cold snap last week. I mean, it's part of my week. Let me give you a very small tinkle. Holding it away, because this is a sort of subplot. What happens when grown-ups are in bed, part 38, you know, because we did one a few weeks ago, and a lot of young people have written in and said they'd like to hear a little bit more. Can't you remember, I said to my missus... Do you want a cup of tea?
Can't remember? Well, you're talking.
Well then, now I'm trying to remind you, so you couldn't be thinking quick.
That's part 34, isn't it?
Well, anyway, we're moving on to part 38, because some of it wasn't too, you know, ready, people aren't ready for it. This is what happens, right? Now, we're in the bed, 2 o'clock, cat's gone down the bed between my ankles, like, and I'm dozing off again, so... My missus sort of... well, rolls over, like, see, extends a leg. Now, I could feel that she'd extended this leg, because I felt it come over my leg, because I could feel it through my Winceyette joms. You know what grown-ups are like in bed, I could feel, like, you know... So imagine, I've got the cat between the ankles. Suddenly, as far as the cat's concerned, this leg appears over the... Look, the cat, of course, then starts to adopt its role as a watch cat, you see, and it opens one eye, I assume, I couldn't see down there, but he assumes that this leg is a burglar about to attack his daddy, namely me. See? So, the cat, with a determined cry of, "They shall not pass," sinks his claws and his teeth into this leg that's coming over the foot end, which he assumes to be a burglar creeping between my legs. You see? Right with me?
I think so.
The missus, she wakes up with a shriek and jerks her knee violently upwards. Anyway, I spent most of my holiday lying on the sofa, just watching the telly. I mean, why not? And here's something I heard on the telly, and I dashed away and I wrote it down. I think I got it right. And it's, a lady said, it was a fantastic opportunity that just came along. And I wrote it down. I thought, that was Mrs. Thatcher. She's talking about 10 years in doing whatever she's been doing. That was a fantastic opportunity that just came along. Now, I could understand that if it was applied to another lady who was in the news over this last couple of days, because, as I say, I seem to, what with the cold and other things, I spent a lot of time lying down. So, do you remember, you've seen this news item about this girl who inherited millions of pounds? So she'd been interviewed on the telly. And she's always described as punk rocker.
Yeah.
So, And you think, now, wait a minute. And there was another fella a few weeks ago, and it said, punk rock fan, so-and-so, and he'd been involved in something like he'd beaten some people up or he'd set fire to a house or something like that. Punk rock fan. Well, perhaps he was a punk rock fan. We've no idea about this. I'd never asked him what he was listening to, you know, but... What's that? I remember years ago when there used to be, before rocks really started, and when jazz was the thing, trad, you know, and skiffle and all that sort of thing. And there used to be a regular Bewley Jazz Festival at Lord Montague's place at Bewley there. A great big festival if they had a nice weekend, smashing, you know, bank holiday weekend, 2 or 3 days, all the jazz bands are there. And somebody who'd been there with a couple of mates, on his way back to London, slightly out of it, fight breaks out. I think he stabbed the taxi driver or something. They didn't have the money. I think the bloke unfortunately died and so on. Next day it said, jazz fan murders taxi driver. The bloke had only gone with his mates, like, for a weekend out. Where else would they go? I mean, Mr. Acker built and things, try and pick up a couple of birds. But they always do that. Punk rock fan blows up the Houses of Parliament. They never say, like, stamp collector, this and that and the other, do they? Tennis player... They never say, Gilbert and Sullivan lover arrested in toilet. No, Gilbert and Sullivan ran off, obviously. But, you know what I mean? And it's the same, I've said this before, they still always say, like they say of you, they always say, Radio 1's girl disc jockey. They never say, I mean, they always say, Lenny Henry, the black comedian. And they never say, Prince Charles, the white heir to the throne.
No.
Art. Oh. Now, quite briefly, hang on, I've got the cutting in my book, I meant to bring this in. It's that Laurie Anderson thing, when I mentioned it...
Checkbook.
No, there's a thing in here, I've got my cuttings in the inside, a little plastic thing, here you go. I mean, we mentioned this before when we were doing the pop press once, so this new Laurie Anderson album, it's different sort of reviews. Right. One critic said, smashing, another critic said, terrible. And it's a set of albums, it's 5 albums, her big... live performance, United States, which goes on for hours and hours and hours, and they've still got about 4 of it now there, but... Warner Brothers have a funny attitude towards it, and they think, hello, there's not much interest. Yet people have written to me and said there is an interest, and can they buy it on an import? Well, Warner Brothers have brought some of them into the country and then complain that it's like 5 albums, you see, and it's going to cost over 20 quid. Well, all their albums are about £5 a time, so I said they would be, wouldn't they? You know, you can go in a shop and buy 5 albums, but some people will want to hear this, and you won't hear it anywhere else. The problem is, of course, it is part of a visual show, in the sense that there is sound and music and she's talking all the time, but naturally you don't get the lights and flashing bits and bobs going up and all this sort of thing, which is quite impressive, because I did see it. Yeah, I suppose it is a little bit expensive, but I've got one here and brought it along. You will hear a little bit nowhere else. So, I'll just... to whet your appetite a bit, this was from Simon Frith in the Sunday Times a couple of weeks ago, and he said, and he's quite a good critic, he said, the live recording of Laurie Anderson's epic performance will, United States, take up 5 LPs, and as its inevitable long years, that means boring bits, I think. He says, but even the moments of hesitation and tedium seem necessary to understand Anderson's vision of language and sociability in an electronic age. Then he says, United States is a treasury of wit and intelligence, well worth 5 LPs by anyone else. And I thought the same, you know, I thought we get so many Codswallopy LPs, to have a little set of an artist's major work is quite important. The bit I've picked out, it's not been out as a single, it has been out on a record in Europe before. It's a little piece that she does which is called New York Social Life, which talks about, like, well, it sort of sums up our... well, that's particularly in New York sort of social life, where even if it's either live people talking to each other, or, hi, I'm on the answering phone, it's still sort of, hi, hello, how are you? Hi, hello, it's wonderful to see you. Hi, hello, have a good day. Hi.
Well, I was lying in bed one morning, trying to think of a really good reason to get up, and the phone rang, and it was Jerry, and she said,
hey, hi, how are you? What's going on? How's your work?
oh, fine, you know, just waking up, but it's fine. How's yours?
Oh, a lot of work, you know. I mean, I'm trying to make some money, too. Listen, I gotta get back to it. I just thought I'd call to see how you are. And I said,
Yeah, we really should get together next week, you know, and have lunch and talk.
and she said, yeah, I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Okay,
Listen, take care.
take it easy.
I'll see you.
I'll call you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
And I get up, and the phone rings, and it's a man from Cleveland, and he says,
Hey, hi, how are you? Listen, I'm doing a performance series, and I'd like you to do something in it. You know, you could make a little money. I don't know how I feel about your work. It's not really my style. It's kind of trite. But listen, it's just my opinion, and don't take it personally. So listen, I'll be in town next week. I gotta go now, but I'll give you a call and we'll have lunch. We can discuss a few things. And I hang up and it rings again and I don't answer it.
And I go out for a walk and I drop in at the gallery and they say,
Hey, hi, how are you?
oh, fine, I'm fine.
How's your work going?
Okay, I mean, it's just not like it was in the 70s, I mean, those were the days. There's just no money around now, survive, produce, stick it out. It's a jungle out there. And she said, oh,
Excuse me, will you?
and the phone rings and she says,
Hey, hi, how are you? How's your work? Good. Well, stick it out. I mean, it's not the 70s, Listen, I gotta go now, but lunch would be great. Fine. Next week? Okay, yeah, very busy now, but next week would be fine. Okay?
bye-bye.
Bye now.
And I go over to Magoo's for a bite, and I see Frank, and I go over to his table, and I say,
Hey, hi, Frank. How are you? How's your work? Yeah, mine's okay too. Listen, I'm broke, but working. And listen, I gotta go now, but we really should get together and have lunch and talk. Why don't you drop by sometime? That'd be great. Listen, I'll see you.
I'll call you.
Take care.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. And I go to a party, and everyone's sitting around wearing these party hats, and it's really awkward, and no one can think of anything to say, so we all move around really fast. And
Hi, how are you? Where have you been? Nice to see you. Listen, I'm sorry I missed your thing last week, but we really should get together, and have lunch and talk, and I'll see you. I'll call you next week, okay?
okay,
See ya.
talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. And I go home, and the phone rings, and it's Alan, and he says,
Hey, hi. Listen, I'm going to have a show on cable TV, and it's going to be about loneliness. People in the city who, for whatever psychological, sociological, philosophical reasons, just can't seem to communicate. The gap. It'll be a talk show, and people will phone in, but we will say at the beginning of each program, listen, don't call in with your personal problems, because we don't want to hear them.
and I'm going to sleep, and it rings again, and it's Mary, and she says,
Hey, Laurie, hi, how are you? Listen, I just called to say hi. And yeah, listen, don't worry, just keep working. I gotta go now. I know it's late, but we really should get together next week, maybe and have lunch, talk. And listen, Laurie, if you want to talk before then, I'll leave my answering machine on and just give me a call anytime.
Gosh, that's so clever.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in it. You've got to go through some rambling stuff to go through the whole 5 albums, of course, but, I mean, that was more the sort of chilling bit, is that, at the end, I think, where they sort of, hi, look, if you want to talk, I'll leave my answering machine on. I'll be out, but you talk to the machine, and then I'll talk to you, your machine when I come back. Anyway, to change the subject, art. Oh, knocked again very briefly. No, because Laurie Anderson, I met her a couple of times when she was over here. I mean, smart girl, obviously, but determined lady. She's pretty calculated careerist, I mean, she's not sort of naive at all. She knows which side of bread's buttered and how to get on in the media, be a bit of an international name and so on. But, of course, most artists aren't like that at all, and I did call in a little gallery in London near Covent Garden, the Peyton Gallery in Langley Court, to see the work of a new young artist. By new, I mean she's just over 30, I should imagine, but on the other hand, by new for a first-time one-person show kind of thing, Mary Mabbott. And strangely enough, more in day, I seem to keep coming in and say, just been down to the West Country again, I've been judging this art show, or chairing the judges, and she was one of the prize winners. Won't go on about it, because I can't hold them up to the microphone, but paintings of things like shoes, cats, herself sitting with the shoes and so on. I mean, you can see what she's doing, it's not just splashing paint about, but I think she's talented and a painter to watch. She may not have Laurie Anderson's flair for publicity. Hi, but let's say hello to Mary Mabbott. And as I say, if you're in the London area, it's a young artist, a new artist who's definitely worth pursuing. I think we're going to hear a lot more of her. Man News. Do you know we got on Pick of the Week last week?
We did.
Yeah, you did. When I was talking about going to that restaurant, the food was all right, but certain things were bad signs,
Yes.
I was a bit iffy about it. Pick of the Week took a bit and put it out for Radio 4. It's very nice. You giggling away and me talking away, so of all the best bits. I'd forgotten, though, when I heard that back, I suddenly realised there'd been another bad sign in the restaurant that I'd forgotten in our conversation to make. Chatty menus. A bad sign in a restaurant when you walk in and it's got a chatty menu. Do you know what I mean? I like a menu that just tells you what they serve.
That's
and they say,
it.
that's what we have, that's the price. Do you want it? Don't you want it? That's what it is, You should know what fish and chips is, and that's the price. There you go. I don't want all this fine writing that you sometimes get. You know, veal fresh, dawn picked, hand chosen by out. You say it's peas, isn't it? And so, well, yes, it's sort of peas actually. Yes, it's very similar to peas. You know, I don't want some actorly kind of approach to it, and I don't want explanations and things. I mean, either you know or you don't. Now, my sister brought back a wonderful menu, which I think she's still got at home, from America when she went to America, and it had all the wines, and they were so sure that the Americans didn't know one wine from another. It would actually spell it out afterwards phonetically. So it would say Beaujolais, and then afterwards it would say B-O-W, little line, J-O-L-L-Y, Beaujolais, kind of thing, you know. And it did say, then I said, I can't believe this. It said, look at the white wines, every wine it said, Chablis. And then afterwards in brackets, S-H-A-B, new word, L-double-E. But Chablis. I mean, it sounds like the end of a folk song. You know, sort of, Jesse James came to town, old Chablis, he shot him down. You think, what is this? I don't want that. But what they had on this menu in last week's meal that I'd forgotten about, in the wine list, I thought, yeah, we'll have a bottle of wine. I was thinking, you know, have a look down. And it says something like a certain wine, then it said, I know what it was like. You know, it's a very instant wine, it's all right, nothing wrong with it. But it says something like, full-bodied, robust red wine. Try it. And you think, try it? You know, I don't have a menu talking to me like that. Try it. Says the menu. Come on, you'll like it. Hold your nose. Go on, try and keep it down. Come on, get a cloth, somebody. Come on. You know, you suddenly find that the menu is taking a whole role. It's taking over your life like a nanny. I don't want all that conversation with a menu. Finally, before we go, overheard. You know, like occasionally you overhear something. You know. I didn't overhear this, but I'm told that somebody who told somebody said somebody told them at work they'd overheard it and they told somebody else. But it sounds genuine. And I said, you know, a couple of old ladies on top of a bus, and one of them turns to the other and says, of course, she said, they're all on drugs. And the other one looks round and says, who are? So she says, these addicts. Do you have any music now, Janice, that I can overhear?